Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our weekly Tuesday call for COVID-19. I'd like to get the meeting started, and I'll just do a brief roll call if you don't mind. Commissioner Schlosser?
Present.
Commissioner Byrne?
Here.
Commissioner Sheffer?
Here.
Commissioner Gay?
Here.
Commissioner Kaluzzi?
Here.
Commissioner Szymanowski?
Here.
Great. Thank you all. What I'd like to do is, well, first off, I was going to open up the discussion this morning with, or this afternoon, with, adding that as of last week, the state of New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania had taken us off the quarantine list, which I think was a very positive thing. But unfortunately, we've just heard that New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut have just put Delaware back on their 14-day quarantine list. So whatever good was done a week ago has been taken off. And basically, they look at two different numbers. Number one is the percent positives in testing. And right now, Johns Hopkins has Delaware at 4.7. But we just got off a press conference with the governor, and he's got his number at 4.2 in the state, percent positive testing. However, the other number that the states do look at is the number 10 per 100,000 of population. And right now, Delaware, on the most recent numbers of positive cases over a 5-day average, is approximately 105. We would have to get to 97 to be about at that 10 per 100,000. So that's the number that those states are looking at. And unfortunately, they've put us in that position. And I'm sure they're looking at it every Tuesday, as they said they would. And unfortunately, if either one of those two metrics is on the negative side, they put us on quarantine, even though the other one is much below where, for example, Maryland and Pennsylvania are. They're above 5%, which is the WHO number that they're looking at. So that's where we are today. And with that, I'm going to go over a few more things that we heard from the governor's press conference, and then turn it over to the city manager, and then we'll open it up to the commissioners. Just one thing, typically on Tuesdays in the morning, the governor has a call with the mayors around the state. Today, he did not have that call. That call is scheduled for tomorrow at 10 o'clock, so we did not have the mayor's call. But there was a press conference of the governor at 1:45, and I'm going to just go over a few of the things that he mentioned and then some things locally. Basically, the hospitalizations in the state popped up today to 58. It was 47 yesterday. However, the last 5-6 days have been averaging around 50 to 52 hospitalizations. The deaths in the state have pretty much leveled off, really going back to about June 15th or so. So the last 30 to 45 days, deaths have been leveling off, one here and there. It jumped to 525, which is a couple over the last couple of days, but that's been a lot less because they've gotten a handle on the nursing homes and assisted living places around the state. Overall in the state, the new hospitalizations are trending down. The testing positives are trending down. Unfortunately, the new positives, as these three states are looking at us, are trending up a bit. Again, the governor's numbers that they look at, and I think they've got the most recent numbers versus Hopkins, is a 4.2% overall. And again, as I mentioned, Maryland and Pennsylvania are in and around 5%, a little bit above that. As we look at the beach areas, that's where the surges have been in the last couple of weeks. If you recall, right around the time they started really ramping up the testing about 2 weeks or so ago, the testing percentage in this area was somewhere close to 9%. Just locally in the 19971 zip code, it's about 3.5%, so that's gone down a lot. And I think in the Lewis zip code, the 19958 is even below that. And there was another testing done today at Epworth, which just ended probably 1, 2 o'clock. And I'm not sure how many people they had out there, but I'm sure that will come into the statistics over the last few days. And a couple things around the country, you're hearing more and more, the testing seems to take a little bit longer. We heard from the gentleman, AJ Saul, from DEMA today that they were talking about the testing in Delaware being somewhere around 36 to 48 hours. I kind of question that because I was tested 2 weeks ago when they had it here at the convention center parking lot, and I did not receive my results until last Friday, so it was about 10 days. So talking with various different people that were tested that day, some did hear within a couple days, others, a couple still haven't heard, and others, like myself, had heard, a week to 10 days later. So that's the case pretty much so everywhere, and they're trying to push that down, but unfortunately there's a demand for more and more testing, so it sounds like it's going to go up across the country. The governor did talk a little bit about school openings, which is, as everybody knows, part of phase 3, and that's still kind of out there. So I would imagine his thoughts on phase 3 in general, and how it affects everybody in addition to schools is still going to be a few more weeks away. I think they're really looking at these numbers, and I think it's really the numbers of the testing positive, as well as the numbers that these other 3 states are looking at, getting down below that 97 number per 100, or 97 on a daily basis, new testing positive. So I would think when he starts talking about the schools in a more heavy perspective, it'll be looking at testing positive being somewhere around 2%, whereas now it's above 4%. So I think that's probably where he'll get. And he did mention today in his press conference that he'd like to see, before going to full-fledged school, that the number of positive cases per week gets to be below 100, whereas right now we're right around 100 per day. So that will be something different. We do, as we spoke about last week, once we open it up to the commissioners, we'll also open it up. I know there's a representative from both the Chamber and Main Street, and we had asked them to come up with some thoughts on how the businesses were going. But before we turn it over to the commissioners, I'll turn it over to the city manager, and she's got some things she'd like to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Just very briefly, this past weekend we saw an uptick in parking revenue, people on the beach and the boardwalk, and visitors on just Rehoboth Avenue in general. So this past weekend was, I'll say, more crowded than July 4th and the weekend after July 4th. So it wasn't as strong as any typical July weekend in the past, but it was, there was a positive element to this past weekend. I'll have more to report as we move on here into the August workshop regarding parking revenue and everything else where we are with the budget. The outdoor dining request, that has not changed since last week's report, when there were two or three additional ones. So that's been holding steady. We really don't have any other reports other than what I'm going to have Chief Banks report on, because that's pretty, I think, topical to what we've been dealing with, and I do want to turn it over to Chief Banks. Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager, Mayor, Commissioners. Good afternoon. I will start off with talking about the lifeguards. Out of the 15 lifeguards that tested positive for COVID, all of them are back to work except for 2, and we do expect them back by this weekend. So that's good news. Captain Buxton has been sending 10 lifeguards a week for continued testing. And so far, last week, everybody's come back negative, and this Friday we'll send 10 more. So we're just trying to keep a check on that. Reference to my summer officer, like I said, we had 2 cadets out last week that were possibly exposed to COVID. We've had a report that they did come back negative, and they're back to work, so we have 18 officers working. As far as the signage that was asked about out last week, unfortunately our sign shop was unable to make some of the signs up, so we did go outside to our vendor, and we're actually picking those up as we speak right now, and the Public Works Department will be staying late and others to put those signs up tonight and tomorrow morning. So you will see the walkway signs and the entire beach and Dovell parking lot, and even some areas along south and north on the beach, saying that, you know, you're coming into the code and you need to have your mask on. So all that will be finished up today, tomorrow. As far as mask enforcement in general, we've handed out over 17,000 free masks to the public over the last month and a half, 2 months. We will continue to do that. We've also continued to have our many checkpoints, mostly on the boardwalk, where we take an hour, hour and a half, try to each day at a certain location. Sometimes we will move from, you know, one side on the south and then move to the north side. And just count the number of people coming through, and the ones that are older have a mask on but may not be wearing it properly. We educate them and ask them to put it up, and then the ones that have no mask at all in their possession, we give them one, but we go ahead and cite them. And there's been 57 citations issued to that point. Unfortunately, we did have one seasonal cadet quit just this afternoon because of what he sees going on the boardwalk, which is typical, where we're trying to ask for compliance, and we're having more issues with that. We're seeing, I don't want to sit there and use the word violence, but that they're just seeing people aren't stopping for the officers, for the cadets, and when they're asking put the mask on. I think I've said it before, so almost drawing a line in the sand. Ones that want the mask on, believe in it, they're wearing it, and then others that refuse to, and they just keep walking. They won't even stop. A couple of the officers have been able to stop them, but just this past week we've had a few confrontations with that, and instructing officers, you know, it's not worth fighting over because they actually, you know, push the officers and things like that. And again, I don't want anybody injured over enforcing a face mask for a $100 fine. So that's what we're kind of seeing out there. We're going to continue to do what we have to do. That it is kind of getting more difficult as time goes on. Again, let's not be negative because there's a lot of positive out there. However, that being said, I was out there Sunday for a couple hours myself, and there was good compliance. That's not always the case, but this weekend, especially Sunday, I thought it was more in check than Saturday and Friday. So I thought Saturday and Sunday improved, but Friday wasn't quite as good. So we are monitoring that, and that's where we're at. Any questions?
Chief, can you just, the 2 numbers you've been giving, which I think is helpful for people to hear, is how many masks you've given out and what the total number of citations have been?
Again, there's been over 17,000 masks handed out and 57 citations, again, COVID-related incidents. And again, our main function out there is to continue just to educate the public, trying to ask for compliance. The majority of people do have a mask in their possession, and when it coming off the beach or as they're unloading their car and bringing things up. I mean, it's been hot and humid out there, so a lot of times they may have it down just over their mouth, and when they get close to people, they bring it up over their complete face. And again, we're trying to be tolerant of that because it's so humid, and if they can't keep 6 to 8 feet apart, they're in compliance. So,
All right, thank you, Chief.
My observations are that compliance is better. I mean, I think it's becoming, we're educating people, it looks like, which is good.
Yeah.
Commissioner Schlosser, question?
Yes, Mayor, if everybody's done with the chief, I had a question back to some of your comments.
Sure.
If everybody's done. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Now, my question is, first of all, what, do you know the status of the House Bill 349? I think it's on the government. I'm sorry if you mentioned it earlier. I'm not hearing a lot. It's getting somewhat fragmented, some of the sound for me. But did you mention the status of House Bill 349?
Well, House Bill 349, I think, as I mentioned last week, it has been signed. It has been signed by the state legislators as well as the Senate. It has not been signed by the governor. He did not mention anything on his press conference today. If he doesn't mention something tomorrow, I will ask the question about timing. I spoke with one of his aides last week, and she assured me that they would make sure that it would be signed prior to July 31st, which is the 60 days. So I anticipate he's going to probably sign that probably in a group of different bills that he signs at the same time within the next few days. And, you know, speaking with Glenn looked into it, and apparently when the governor does sign House Bill 349, it'll be basically codified into the governor's second modification, which has to do with the alcohol takeout and the outdoor dining until March 31st in 21. And so the system we have in place for reviewing and approving outdoor dining expansions for establishments that have a liquor license is authorized by state code, which will be continued till March 31st. Anything further, Glenn?
No, that's exactly right. There's the House bill basically codifies within state code the second modification and the 19th modification of the governor's orders. Once they are codified, signed by the governor and codified, that extends that program till March 31st of 2021. Even if the state of emergency goes away, it's still in state code till March 31st of 2021. There's nothing required by the city because now it becomes state code and we can continue our current system.
So we don't have to do anything for the city or vote on anything. It just continues as is if the governor signs it.
Yeah.
That's
Lisa and
Thank you.
Mayor, I believe that the governor has signed that bill.
Did he sign it? The
Yeah,
last
I think
news
we need
report.
to- I think we need to double check, but I'm almost certain that I heard from a news source a couple of days ago that it was signed.
Yes, I just checked, Chief Banks just checked on the website for the Dover website, and it has been signed.
Oh, good. Okay, great.
Apologize for that.
Super, thanks. Thanks, Dick, for bringing that up. And so, Glenn, we don't have to do anything as
right.
the commissioners. Okay, great. Thank you. That's good news.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you. Commissioner Szymanowski.
Thanks, Mayor. I have a question, I guess, a clarification about the testing. So, is there any way that we can get some more clarity from the governor's office or someone at the Division of Public Health? You know, I, for example, got my test results from the City Hall testing site. It was probably somewhere around 36, 40 hours later. You got yours 10 days later, but 6 days later, we got the gentleman, Mr. O'Malley from the state, sent the total numbers from that site. So it's almost like they've got more of a hiccup in their email notification system because they knew what the total results were 6 days later, yet you didn't get your result until 10 days later. So it seems like it might be more of a notification problem than the testing problem.
Yes, that's definitely the case, because when I sent them an email about 6 days into it, because I had heard the totals, and I said, look, I've heard the totals, and they basically said, I think they thought they sent it to me, so I had to give them more details, and so then it came a few days later. So I think it's just the way they're notifying people, and I think it's probably a process that's pretty difficult to, keep exact, and that's why I got mine as late as I did. So I think there are probably the people that got them as late as I did, or the people that still haven't gotten them. They're probably in a pile somewhere. They've already been determined by by DEMA of what the totals were.
Right. But whatever we can do to encourage a fix to the system, because if someone tests positive and aren't getting notified until 10 days later, at that point it's irrelevant. There was no point in getting tested.
Right.
And that's what's happening all over the country.
Yeah. Right.
Unfortunately, this is because there's so much demand to do so much testing. And, fortunately, I think we got those results, or DEMA got those results within probably 36 to 48 hours in the state, because they're doing the testing of the results themselves. But many of these areas are also sending them out. I heard from the fellow at DEMA the day that we were tested that some places are sending the tests for results out to California, for example, rather than up the road in Wilmington. So it all depends on where the testing stuff goes. But yeah, it's a difficult result to get the exact results, and I think it's just happening everywhere.
Well, every opportunity we can stress to the governor and staff that it's the system needs to work a little bit better.
No question whatsoever. We've never been in something like this before.
Oh, sure. All right. Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have.
Commissioner Byrne.
No, I made my comment about the House bill being signed. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Sheffer.
Yeah, I was just going to say that my experience with the testing in the City Hall parking lot was very similar to the mayor's. But once I had the contact email and reached out to them, they were very responsive, and I got they had sometimes, because I registered as a walk-up, and so there was a little bit of an issue with my email address. But once I had sent it to them, they responded within the next day, or by the next day.
Thank you. Commissioner Gay.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. I think I got my results very quickly within less than 48 hours, but I think it may have been because there was a little glitch in the way I came to be tested. Rather than we were given the opportunity to go to a walk-up event, but I misread the message, and it was a holiday weekend, and there was nobody in the city to clarify that with. So I actually went online and signed up for a time because I thought we were supposed to. I misread it. Consequently, I had a number, and when I showed up to be tested, I had the number, and I even said, well, I'm not here at the time that I'm confirmed on this email, and they said, oh no, it's fine. And it's a really good thing you have a number. So on most of the testing information that I've seen go out from the state, they do have the link to that curative site where you can sign up. And I think probably even though walk-up events are great, don't get me wrong, but I think to the extent that we can encourage people to sign up through the site, that's going to be their best way of tracking and getting information back to us in a timely manner. And for me, it was just a fluke, I think.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you for that. The last meeting we had discussed asking both Main Street and the Chamber to kind of come forward and talk about what the businesses are feeling downtown, other than the things that we can see. So if it's okay with the commissioners, what I'd like to do is ask each of those representatives to come on, and I'll ask for Dan Slagle first to come on and talk about his side of the story.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Mayor, City Manager, and the commissioners. Again, this is Dan Slagle, Executive Director of Rehoboth Beach Main Street. I'm hearing, and being out downtown a lot, is that businesses are hurting, and Main Street is trying to come up with some great ideas to try to get businesses downtown. So one of the things we've started this week is Christmas in July campaign. I'm going to some of the things that we're doing and what we're working on. We at Rehoboth Main Street are launching a Christmas in July campaign this week. We're trying to help the business during this trying time. The campaign started today and it'll run through the end of the month. The local iHeartRadio is helping us out through many public service announcements on many radio stations in the surrounding areas to help advertise this downtown Rehoboth Beach marketing campaign even more. We are partnering with the Rehoboth Chamber of Commerce, the City of Rehoboth, Visit Rehoboth, and Rehoboth Beach Homeowners Association as well. Our goal is to advertise and spread the word to as many potential customers to shop downtown for the people on their holiday list out in July. We will get the word out through our social media. We are giving out flyers. I went downtown today and gave out many flyers, as well as some of our volunteers. We have radio ads, and we've sent out 1,000 of email blasts. I hope to all residents, visitors, and summer guests that they will shop here in July for December. So we're trying to get really creative. We want the retail businesses to get creative. We want them to decorate their business, play holiday tunes, offer, buy early discount. And also the restaurant businesses, we're encouraging guests to buy gift cards and, for the holidays. So I know it's short notice, but we didn't want to miss out on an opportunity to try to help increase businesses downtown. Also, we are offering free hand sanitizer for the downtown businesses. I've sent out email blasts offering, at least that'll help them out a lot. They don't have to buy hand sanitizer. So I have about 110 gallons of hand sanitizer here. We also were giving out our official guidebook to the hotels, all the merchants downtown. So we're just trying to get out our official, because it has coupons in it for people to use downtown. One of the things I did want to bring up that I'm seeing and hearing, we would like to introduce Meterless Monday to all of you for you to consider. I've spoken to many of the businesses downtown. They think Monday would be a great day to offer Meterless Monday, where you take away the meters for at least one day. And this way it'll bring out the locals in the area. So please consider that. And after meeting with the businesses, a lot of them were enthusiastic about having a Meterless Monday to try to get more businesses downtown. And thank you, and thanks a lot.
Thank you, Dan. Carol Everhart, if you could give us an update from the chamber, please.
Okay, I'm going to touch on 5 issues here. First, the outside dining. Congratulations. Everybody loves it. They are asking a few questions, such as if they are allowed to continue the outside spacing. How big will that spacing be? What will the rules be on enclosures? And heaters, can they get heaters so that as the weather cools, they can continue that outside dining? I promised I'd mention that. The messaging, we have been on many calls with the state regarding messaging. They are in agreement that it needs to be on the positive side and as simple as possible. We're working on a second commercial from the chamber, but we're also working on a drop box at the state where we can drop in pictures or virtual video that people can have and collect and send out their own commercials from their areas. I was really pleased with that. That was probably one of the most forward decisions that's been made in that. We do agree, keep it simple. Dewey, when they did their mask, they said, if you can't social distance, you got to wear a mask. That's it. Wear a mask if you can't social distance. Naughty list. Yes, we're back on the naughty list. And it was interesting because when it first happened last weekend, I was receiving calls from the accommodations. Hey, we're getting some more reservations. We were so hopeful that that was going to make a considerable difference in the overnight accommodations. It did not. It actually resulted in 341 more room reservations. So it's a blip. It's certainly helpful, but it did not create the overnight visitation that we hope for. And the only thing we can surmise is with the high numbers of visitors in town and on the beach, those are your day visitors. So they're coming either driving in from other states and going back, or they're in the outlying areas in the residential communities. And I wondered if the parking meter revenue is reflecting the same percentage as I go through these numbers down below that we're seeing in all the other lost revenue. We are creating a graph. We have taken each category. So whether that was restaurant, attractions, accommodations, retail, service, and real estate, it's not every member, but we are trying for at least 20 or more % in each category of the revenue loss, not the profit loss, the revenue loss, comparing January of last year through July, mid-July, to the same time frame this year. I can tell you that it is rather staggering to see these numbers. And it's in all categories. It is definitely restaurants, it's definitely accommodations, but it is also very definitely retail and some service industries. So if you're in the personal service industry, such as a hairdresser or the salons, all those types of things, they took a tremendous hit too. Our hope is to have this completed, the best case scenario, by the end of this week. Definitely by the beginning of next week. It will go to the governor first. So he will receive that with a letter. As soon as that's accomplished, then it will be public and everyone will have that. We are making an effort to make sure that these numbers are also reflective of geographic area, because your interest will be in the downtown area. So maybe I can color code that and say, this % of this number came from downtown Rehoboth in each of these categories. So you have a real picture of what's going on. Remember, it is just a sampling, but it is staggering. Christmas in July, we were asked, could we assist with that? We've pushed it out on Facebook, Beach Blast. We're offering the welcome bags if they'd like to drop their product in there for this week and weekend. And we hope that helps the downtown business community. And our decoration is up. We've already put it up. So we're ready for Christmas in July. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Hey, Carol, thanks for all that information, and look forward to that report, not in a good way, but look forward to it. Are you also cross-promoting the Christmas in July through all your social media and emails, et cetera? I didn't see it on your events page on your website, but I looked yesterday. So I'm just wondering how that's working out.
Everything just went out today. It went to 7,000 on the Facebook and 40,000 on the Beach Blast. And then there's 1,400 local. I think they have also added to the calendar. If not, it'll go up before the end of the day.
Okay, that sounds great. And for Dan, thanks for this initiative, Dan. Is Dan still on? I assume you're also working with the realtors to kind of get something in the packets that they hand out as people come into town. And again, I assume you did this. I just wanted to know that.
Absolutely.
Sounds good. Okay. All right. That's all I have. Thank you very much for the updates. And by the way, I like the idea of Meterless Monday. I guess we'll get to that after we're done talking to Carol and Dan, but I think if it came from the businesses, that recommendation, I think we should do what we can to help them. So that's my 2 cents to start it off. Thanks.
Commissioner Gay.
Yeah, first of all, I got the member blast from the chamber just a little while ago. So, and also, Dan, you'll be happy to know that the Homeowners Association sent out a blast email this morning. So I've seen this from several sources now, and I just have a few questions about it. It looks very festive, but I see here, it has holiday decorations and music, and it's got, the dining and all that, but there's nothing clickable on this brochure. So a couple people have asked me, and I guess I wondered too, because I didn't have any information, if it's everybody participating, if there are specific participants. I couldn't tell whether it was just an encouragement to shop or whether there are any deals in the mix. They're just, you can't tell that from here. So that's one question. And then the second question is, with 10 days left in the month, I guess I'm wondering if you're planning a similar initiative for August, and if so, what?
We have not moved forward in August initiative yet. As far as I've been meeting with merchants today, and so did my other volunteers, pretty much we're leaving it up to the businesses to decorate, play music. We want them to take the initiative, and it's for everyone to participate.
Okay.
And I'm sorry it's short notice. This is what we came up with, and we're hoping it takes off and does really well. And it brings people downtown.
Thank you. Commissioner Szymanski.
Thank you, Dan and Carol. Carol, I know Dan brought up the concept of Meterless Mondays, or do you have any thoughts on that? I know what I'm hearing from the businesses is, they don't have the normal tourists that would normally be here in July. And they also don't have the locals coming into town either, which I think is what they're trying to, what a lot of businesses would at least like to see, an opportunity for the locals to come in one night during the week where they don't have to pay for parking, or there's some incentive for them to do that. Do you have any thoughts, or have you heard that from businesses as well, Carol?
I can't say that I've heard that, but I know it was very successful in the past. And if it's something that the city can offer, it's a positive for the businesses. I just don't know what situation you're in to be offering that. But, I can't imagine it wouldn't assist in some way. I really don't know. It's the honest answer.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Cluzzi.
Yes, I just wanted to weigh in on the Meterless Monday idea. I think it's a good one. And I think, though, we have to get the word out, though, to the locals that in fact, especially those people who are in Lewis and the surrounding area, that this would be a possibility. I think, though, we have to have a start date and an end date. I don't think we need to have it for, a few Mondays, but I don't know how many Mondays make sense, because obviously it's going to, hit us financially. So just my thoughts on that.
City manager, is there any way to tell, given the past few Mondays, maybe what the numbers look like, say from what the potential loss could be if we did Mondays from 6 to 10 p.m., something like that, or 5 to 10?
Yeah, we'll take a look at the data for the weekday accounts and hopefully be able to get that number.
Is the suggestion only for the evening? I didn't hear that. I thought it was all day and evening. Is it not?
Well, I don't think we actually spoke about that, but my suggestion, as a couple of the other commissioners already mentioned it, I think it should be for the evening, because if you remember, an awful lot of these people that are parking on the meters are going to the beach. Right. And I think something similar to what they have down in Dewey, they have, I believe, Wednesday nights, or Carol can tell us more, but they have nights that parking has been suspended. And I think if we are to do something like this, and again, depending on how many Mondays we do it when we start, I would suggest that it would really be the sometime around 4 to 10 or 6 to 10, as Edward was speaking about. But I'm open to suggestion on that.
I would only support doing the evenings.
Because of the beach.
There's too many beach goers that are utilizing it during the day. I would only support something 4 o'clock after.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Dewey is still doing theirs on Wednesdays, right?
They do it Monday through Wednesday.
Monday through Wednesday. Okay.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. In the evening.
Yeah.
So I think it's probably something, again, the city manager can get us some statistics maybe. We should, obviously today's Tuesday, yesterday was Monday. We should think about when we would want to start it, how much we'd want to do. I mean, is it something that we start the 27th, being next Monday, and doing it through the Monday before Labor Day, something like that? I'm open to suggestion from the commissioners.
Yeah.
Paul, just real quick from my perspective, Carol, would the chamber endorse this as well? I mean, can you answer that now or get us an endorsement from your members as well as the Main Street members?
I can certainly, what I would do is take that to the board. There was certainly no objection before.
Okay.
And the hours on that Monday through Wednesday are 5 to 11. Part of the reasoning for that is we run movies and bonfires over there on Monday night movies, Wednesday night bonfires. And so they were in cooperation with the chamber, offered that free parking during those Monday through, just to keep it simple, Monday through Wednesday. But I can take it forward if you'd like.
What do you think, Dan? I didn't mean to step over your initiative, but I think that way you'd hit both, all businesses, or at least catch all the businesses.
I agree that Monday evenings would work best. Of course, I have to take it before our board too. I just suggested this, and I would, out of respect for our board, but I have no doubt that they would approve, I'm sure.
Okay, thanks, Dan. Thanks, Carol.
Just a quick comment to weigh in. I'm very supportive of this concept. I'm really intrigued by it. I think it'd be good to get some information from the city manager, but I think that we ought to move quickly on it. I like the idea of starting it next Monday, make a big deal about it, try to tie it into the Christmas in July, but I would advocate for this going through August. And maybe bump it up to 4 o'clock so we can get the people in that want to come in locally for happy hours and dinner and some shopping. Make it really attractive, but not for the beach folks.
Can I ask the city manager, besides the revenue concern, if you or any of your staff would have any other concerns with this or any logistical problems?
Well, that's something we'll have to discuss, but right off the top of my head, I know that, we do have staff out for enforcement in the evening hours. They start their shift at 2 p.m., their evening shift. So we'd have to find some overlap there, and possibly just utilize the folks inside the parking department themselves. But we can compile all that information and bring it to you next week.
I think I'd want to see all of that information, because I'm also thinking that, with the crowds kind of down a little bit this year, that in the evening we already have so much free parking outside the meter district. So, I'm certainly open to it, but I don't want to make any snap judgments about time or implementation until we know everything and have input from the city and from the businesses.
Commissioner Cluzy?
I agree with Commissioner Byrne that the sooner we do this, the better, because the businesses are suffering. I understand what Susan wants to have all of the data, and I can't argue with the fact that data is very important, but, if we wait too long on this, we overthink it. I think it doesn't make sense. I agree with Commissioner Byrne that we need to have big splash type of ad for it. I don't see any reason why. I do want to hear from the city manager about the hit we'll take revenue wise, but I don't know that that's going to keep me from making a different decision at this point. I think as much as we can help the businesses right now, because there's going to be a certain number of them that fail, and if anything that we can do to help someone just make it through, I think is meaningful.
I tend to agree that, you know, especially if we're gonna try to do this, Christmas in July thing, there are only 10 days left, and one of them is being finished as we speak. And, you know, I look at this from the perspective of, you know, we're talking probably 5 Mondays. And if we could get this started and get the word out and put it on the website, and Main Street could get the word out, and the chamber gets the word out, that we're doing this starting next Monday. Obviously, we're going to get more statistics from the city manager, and she's going to be able to give us more from a logistical perspective. But I think it's anything we can do these days to kind of prop up what's going on. Obviously, there's not as many people today as there were this day a year ago, and anything I think we can do to stir up the business as we go forward, especially if we're going to be off and on the list from these other 3 states. I think it is important for us to get the word out for the people that are locally around, that typically don't come into Rehoboth in July and August. Maybe they'll come in for some of the restaurants. Obviously, with the outdoor dining is very positive, and I think we have to just dwell on the positives that we have and try to throw more and more bones that we can afford. I look at this from the perspective of, you know, a lot of people are going to come to the beach on Mondays and pay the meters or pay the parking passes, and that's fine. But I think in order to jumpstart some of the businesses, having something from say 5 to 10 on Monday nights, I think could be a positive. And then, you know, see what it costs us. But things are costing us anyway, because as Commissioner Gay mentioned, there are parking spaces available anyway. So I think this is probably something we should put into play if the commissioners are behind this sooner rather than later. Commissioner Sheffer.
Yeah, I just, I'm on board. I think that Commissioner Byrne and Commissioner Paluzzi and you, Mayor, summed up where I'm coming from on this. So, you know, we may have to be on a parallel path here as far as collecting data and making the decision so that it actually has meaning.
Thank you. Commissioner Gay.
Yeah, you know, actually, one thing I'm wondering in terms of the data shared, and I would certainly like to do this concept, but I wonder, is Monday the best day? You know, I don't know what the difference is between Monday night's revenue and say Wednesday night's revenue or Thursday night's revenue, but I think it's possible that the businesses might gain more from later in the week. I don't know. It depends on how much we would lose. That's sort of part of the metric, is to figure out the best day that benefits everyone. And so that's one issue. And the other issue is, I understand the rush is to coordinate it with Christmas in July, which is great. But that's why I asked the question earlier about what events there might be next month, because we're already behind the 8 ball a little bit for July. And so, you know, I'd like to see it coordinated with whatever they come up with as an August promotion. I think it would have the most impact if we could do it jointly.
Well, I agree. And I think this gives the impetus, if you will, to create something specifically for August as soon as possible. Because if we have success in July with the Christmas event and Meterless Monday helped it along, that's going to only help the August event that much further. Commissioner Schlosser.
Yes, Mayor. My only hesitation for not starting right away, and I actually, I don't know how we'd do this, but I would like to get an endorsement from the chamber and officially from the chamber and from Rehoboth Beach Main Street, you know, as to this idea overall, and the days of the week that might be best, whether it's Monday or Wednesday. So I don't know if there's a way we can approve this, tentatively approve this, you know, but ask for the feedback from the chamber and Rehoboth Beach Main Street, you know, contingent upon their endorsement or something along those lines. So I just kind of want to bring that up. I think it's important to hear from them, and then which day specifically they recommend, whether it's Monday, Wednesday as a starting point. So that's just that's my thoughts there. I heard it is working in Dewey, by the way. I don't have any metrics or evidence or anything. Carol has something to share, but I just understand, at least from talking, that it does help. It does help. So
They've had it a long time.
Accurate.
Commissioner Calusi.
Yes, so I believe we have done Meterless Monday in the past a couple of times, if I'm not mistaken. I think that that's what's known. I think it's, for lack of a better word, catchy. People know about Meterless Monday. Meterless Monday has existed in, other parts of the country, or I know in Maryland and in places. So I think, it's sort of a riding the coattails idea in some ways, that people know what that is and people can remember it. I'm all about, yes. I can't imagine that correct me if I'm wrong, if Main Street doesn't think it's a good idea. I heard they thought it was a good idea. If the Chamber doesn't think it's a good idea, though. I think they think it was been very successful in Dewey. So I don't really want to see us, put this off for a couple of weeks or miss this Monday. I think it's very important that we just jump on this. That's really my gut reaction.
Yep, and I want to chime in with what you've just said, Commissioner Calusi. Yes, Meterless Monday is something that's out there. From my perspective, I think Monday's the best day to do it, because what we tend to do is continue the weekend. And I think that's part of the hype of it, is kind of continue the weekend that you've had someplace else come into Rehoboth. And I think, obviously Main Street is who brought this up, and I know from being a businessman downtown and knowing people downtown, wanting to get local people into downtown, and everything they always speak about has to do with parking meters. So I would think, without jumping in front of Carol's board or even Dan's board, that all of the businesses would be in favor of ginning up the business, if you will, downtown with something like this. And I think they'd appreciate the fact that the city was taking the time and the effort to offer this. Commissioner Schlosser.
Yeah, Mayor, I totally agree with you and Commissioner Calusi in terms of not kind of wasting any time with, on this initiative. But all I'm suggesting is maybe just ask Rehoboth Beach Main Street and the Chamber just to get the endorsements, like that we approve it contingent upon these endorsements, because I do just want to hear from the businesses officially, since we're just talking about this idea today, and there might be something we're not thinking about that they'll bring forward. So it seems to me we could approve it today contingent upon those endorsements and start it next week. So I just think we need to hear from those two groups and get consensus, consensus, or at least an endorsement from their members.
Thank you. Commissioner Byrne.
Yeah, thank you. I really support what Commissioner Calusi said, that we need to go forward. We're down to 5 Mondays before Labor Day Monday. It's going to take at least 1 week just for people to learn about this, to get the promotion out. And so it's probably going to be effective, if it's going to be effective, and bring in the additional business that we hope for. We're down now to 4 Mondays, because the first Monday is going to be kind of a learning, a promotional. I think we need to get into it. We need to move this ahead. I can't imagine that there's unintended consequences. I can't imagine that Main Street or the Chamber isn't going to be enthusiastic and tie this into Christmas in July. Let's just move forward. It's probably something we should have done 4 or 6 weeks ago.
Thank you. Commissioner Calusi.
Yeah, I just think that I'm hoping that the downtown businesses will appreciate that we've taken the initiative to do this ourselves, not looking for them to suggest necessarily to us that we should do it, that we are taking initiative, that we do care. So that's kind of where my head's coming from.
Commissioner Gay.
I'm just noticing there's 6 Mondays between now and Labor Day, and we should get a jump on it if we're going to do it for August, whether we start it next Monday or make it for the month of August, when August is unusual this year in that it has 5 Mondays. that's kind of where I am, I guess. But also I have a practical question. Is this something we have to vote on, or is it just something we need to move forward on, or what?
I think it's probably something that we should vote on, just to make sure we have it in the record that way. And, I just looked at my calendar as well and noticed that there are 6 Mondays. But again, I think if we look at this way, this might be something that we build on a crescendo as we move into Labor Day weekend. But I think this is something that is a good positive for the businesses. And as Commissioner Taluzzi said, we're thinking about the businesses and we're taking it upon ourselves to create something. And I know, Main Street or other people have suggested in the past, but this is something that we're trying to take the reins on, if you will. And I think that's a good positive as well.
Yeah, I guess I was just thinking that if we're looking at 5 as being a good number to capture, and there are 5 in August, we could sort of look at it as being an August thing in terms of selling it. I mean, that's all.
Again, I appreciate what you're saying, but, one of the first things that came out of the last few days, we've asked Main Street to get out in front of this, the chamber to get out in front of it, and Main Street has brought, working in partnership with the chamber on Christmas in July. And I think this is something that we can use as a starting point for that. And then, maybe there's a couple of things rather than just one for August, but that can lead into with these Mondays.
So, Mayor, is
Yes.
it time, could I make a motion that we move forward with the Meterless Mondays effective? That would be July 27th.
Second.
And before we get that, maybe you want to amend it with times?
Yes.
Meterless Monday, and think about a time.
I would suggest 5 to 10 or 4 to 10. I don't know. Somebody gave the thought about, coming in for happy hour. And I don't know what the restaurants are doing about happy hour right now. Some of them have, 4 to 6 and so forth. So if most of their happy hours start at 4, maybe we should do 4 o'clock.
Is that how you're amending the motion?
Well, that was long-winded, wasn't it? So I will amend the motion to specify a time of 4 to 10.
I accept the amendment.
Well, before we actually put a specific time on it, maybe we should just vote on the actual Meterless Monday in and around there until the city manager comes up with the logistics on it. It may be a little bit more difficult, 4 versus 5 or 5 versus 4. So if we can do it, a motion to have a Meterless Monday, depending on how the city manager comes back with the logistics. And it could be at 4, could be at 5, but at least we have something in stone that we vote on to have Meterless Monday for the next, until Labor Day weekend.
May I withdraw my motion and make a new one then?
Yes, please.
And can I just mention that this will probably be a modification to the mayor's order. It'll be a 4th modification, since the meters are something that's currently codified in the city code, so it'll need to be, something outside of just a motion. We'll have to make it a modification to the mayor's order, just logistically.
Understood.
So I will make a motion that Meterless Mondays start on August 27th.
No, July.
I'm sorry, July 27th. Thank you. That was not very good. July 27th, and
Through August 31st.
through August 31st, and we are looking to the city manager to recommend the best time frame.
Wouldn't we make it through Labor Day?
I would not include Labor Day Monday.
You would not, okay.
I would not.
Right.
That's just my opinion.
Why, Edward? I'd just like to pull that string just a little bit.
Second first to the motion before you.
Yeah, we got to get a second to the motion first.
I'll second the motion.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, so
Edward, you had
to answer Commissioner Schlosser's question. It's a holiday weekend that will be busy regardless, and I wouldn't give free parking away on a holiday weekend like that.
Well, it's the very end of the holiday.
Yeah, and just for discussion purposes, that aspect can be revisited later in August if we have other evidence and information.
That's true.
Okay,
Um,
so we, go ahead.
I have two questions. First of all, we mentioned logistics from the city manager and also mentioned getting endorsements from the chamber and Main Street, but we talked about the motion is to put this into effect Monday. All that information is going to be communicated behind the scenes?
That was not my motion. My motion was to start Meterless Mondays on the 27th through August 31st.
Right.
And we are looking to the city manager to recommend a time frame and to move forward with that time frame.
But that's what I'm saying. So all that information would come behind the scenes. In other words, we're voting today for something to take place before we next meet in public.
Correct.
So I'm just saying that we're expecting all that information and endorsements for the business and all the other information that's going to go into putting this together.
I said nothing about endorsements, though. I said nothing about endorsements. I mean, the behind the scenes.
Oh, no, I know you didn't. It's just a question. That's one of the pieces of information that had been talked about earlier that we wanted to get to see if they had any suggestions.
And we still want the information.
Right.
It isn't going to necessarily drive the decision.
Okay.
Could we maybe
All
just
right.
hear from Main Street and,
Yeah, I'd like to.
and Carol on their thoughts about moving this forward?
Yeah.
Before we vote?
Please.
Well, this is Carol. I would be very surprised if there would be objection to providing the free parking to the business community. They truly can take all the help they can get. I just wanted to run it by the board, but I cannot imagine that there would be any objection to it. I'm just following the procedure.
Thanks, Carol.
And I'm echoing what Carol just said. I can't imagine we have a Main Street board not agreeing with this. They want to see the businesses, be as busy as possible. So,
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the table to start Meterless Monday, starting July 27th, going through Monday, August 31st. And logistics will be provided by the city manager as far as specific times, but that would be starting as of next Monday. Any further discussion? If not, I'll just go down the list. Commissioner Szymanski.
Aye.
Commissioner Cluzy?
Aye.
Commissioner Gay?
Aye.
Commissioner Sheffer?
Aye.
Commissioner Byrne?
Aye.
Commissioner Schlosser?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Any further items anybody would like to discuss from a COVID perspective? Again, as I look at our going forward, the governor has not said anything specifically about phase 3. I don't anticipate that anytime soon. I think his biggest concern is to get Delaware off the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, any other state list for more than a week at a time. And in addition, to continue to do testing throughout the state as much as he's doing, if not more. And I hope that continues. So the more information we have from the governor's office, we'll pass along. Again, the mayor's call is tomorrow, and I hope to pass along more information from their office tomorrow. Anything further for any commissioners?
I do, Mayor. So I think what Carol articulated in her briefing and what Dan has heard is, I think some of the businesses that are utilizing outdoor space would like some assurances from us that we're not going to take that away or limit it in size, so that if they want to invest in heaters and stuff as we go into September and October, that they should indeed make that investment. So I have no plans on taking anything away in terms of outdoor seating. I think we should, as the governor has signed a bill and is extending it through March, I think we should do everything we can to promote that as well. So I would just like to give that reassurance to the chamber and Main Street to pass along to their members. So if they do want to make some improvements in what they're utilizing in the outdoor space or have heaters going into the fall, that they feel comfortable doing that. So that's all I have.
Commissioner Shanowski, you were on the call yesterday with the chamber. I believe that you heard what I said there for the benefit of the other commissioners. I certainly, if we're doing that presently throughout the busy season, throughout the summer season, we would continue to do that through the fall and late fall months and the shoulder season. I mean, there's no reason to remove something if we're doing it now later on when the crowds decrease even more. So I would be, committed to doing that, and as long as it was within reason, it didn't affect any safety concerns that the police chief might have, and we can continue to accommodate the businesses.
Thank you.
Thank you, City Manager. I think everyone appreciates all of the hard work and accommodations you and your staff have made for the businesses. Carol, does that give you all the reassurances or the assurances you need for your businesses that are asking questions?
Yes, I think that's very assuring. I think one of the questions, though, and I'd be happy to talk to Sharon or whoever is the proper person, they're wondering about dimensions. So if the heaters are one thing, but depending on the dimension that they have for their spacing, can depend on which type of a heater they buy or height, or if they're going to do any type of a temporary or surrounding area. And, that may take some coming back to you, but they definitely would be assured. The visitors love it. The businesses love it. Good job.
Carol, I think from that perspective, I think the best thing to do would probably have the businesses speak directly to Dennis Jenny, who has been handling the situation on the ground, and work with Dennis and the city manager to see exactly what they're thinking as far as types of heaters. And I think Dennis will be helpful with them to work on that, if that would be helpful.
That would be very helpful. And I think one of the questions is the spacing I have now the spacing I will have, or is the spacing I have now going to be altered? In other words, is there a main pathway right on the sidewalk? Or if there's something else that needs to be addressed before they do this?
Yeah, and again, I think that's where the businesses could specifically speak with Dennis, with the city manager, and discuss their individual specifics.
Okay, I will follow that.
Great. Thank you. Commissioner Paluzzi.
Yes, just back to Meterless Monday for a minute. I think it would be, if this makes sense to you, Carol, and to Dan, and to meet also with Chris Johnson and come up with an ideas or how we're going to get this information out to our locals, be it people right outside of Rehoboth, people in Lewis, people in Milton, however they want to do it or should do it. They need to be ready to move forward with something like that fairly quickly. So I just ask if it's, Carol, it's agreeable to you and to Dan to be involved with Chris Johnson to try to move forward with something.
We can do that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Commissioner Gay?
In talking about the heaters and whatnot, I mean, I don't even, to me, I don't think that's on us. I just wonder, am I missing something? Are there any sort of additional parameters that we have to set up that would allow businesses to do what they need to do to transition the seasons or make any other changes? And I guess it ties into the other question I'd kind of forgotten about from our discussion last week, but are we going to continue using the same barriers? Are we going to look at other, for the longer term, look at other types of enclosures, or just are we changing the parameters of the situation at all?
That's the question that comes back. That is the question that businesses are asking.
Yeah.
So the question about the heaters and spacing and so forth, that's all driven by the governor's orders. So as we said, House Bill 349 is now going to be, or 149 is now, 349.
349.
Is now going to be codified. And, you know, part of the codification of the governor's 19th modification is that there's a series of requirements that have to be met. For example, ADA has to be complied with. Spacing, you know, social distancing has to be complied with. So the governor's order really drives those spacing issues from my perspective. And I don't think there's any intent upon the city to do anything different than what the governor has put into his orders and now has codified in state code. So that, I think, will be driven by the governor. As far as barriers and those sorts of things, I don't know that there's been any discussion within the city about, you know, what barriers or changing barriers or any of that.
Well, the only thing I could see from my perspective is if some of these businesses come to the city and say, we don't need as much space, or we'd like to have less tables depending on the weather, whatever. And then, you know, the city and the businesses will work together on what it is. But it by no means is the city saying at some point in time, we're going to take something away. It's going to be a good conversation and negotiation between the city and the businesses.
Okay.
Commissioner Calusi.
So I look at this as an opportunity as we move forward, hopefully beyond this COVID mess. So I think we ought to put our thinking caps on in terms of being creative about, so we know everyone's saying they love the outdoor dining, the businesses love it, the tourists love it. What do we need to start thinking about in terms of being able to have that on a long-term basis? So that not an answer we can have today or next week, but I think we ought to start thinking about, is it part of a streetscape that we're looking at, of changing sidewalks are, or, you know, what is it? So it's just, I just bring this up as to remind people, to remind all of us that we should just think about this in a more long-term fashion, and enable us to be able to keep the outdoor dining. That's all.
And I agree, and I think this is just one of the things that's come out of the COVID-19 crisis, is that we might be able to take in a positive fashion as we go forward. Because in the past, we had talked about outdoor dining, and everybody wanted no more than outdoor dining than we had. We've seen the success here, and I think this is probably something that can go a long way towards the CDP and what the CDP people, the Planning Commission is looking into. So I think there are opportunities for the future that have come out of this, and I think this is just one of them, and I'm sure there will be more as we go forward. Before we adjourn, I would like to turn it to the public. We have a few people that have called in and would like to be heard. I'll start with Rick Perry.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners, and the public. I think this has been a very productive. I applaud you for deciding to move forward with the Meterless Mondays. From a personal perspective, based on my own observations and going into town for dinner during the week, I think that you know, it's during the week right now, and particularly given the recent placement of us back on the naughty list, I think that it makes a lot of sense to attract as many people from the local communities and from the city itself downtown. And, you know, I don't see all that much parking to begin with at this point, you know, given the crisis that we're dealing with during the evening hours. So I think it's a very good idea to help our businesses. I do want to also say that I think, you know, looking at the outdoor dining, not only on a temporary basis, but also on a long-term basis makes a great deal of sense. And I agree with Commissioner Paluzzi that, we should keep in mind, what we are learning from this period of time and look at ways to potentially enhance our downtown and dining experiences, for the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Tom Evans, Sturgis Dodge, one or the other, or both of you, please.
It will be both, and I'll start. I just want to say that I want to thank Mayor and Commissioners for continuing meeting every Tuesday, and it is very helpful for citizens to hear directly from Paul and the discussion by our people that we elect to office of their thinking on the issues that are important to the city. I can't see how many people are listening online. Obviously, there are not a lot of us that have signed up to speak. But that being said, it's still one of the best things that you've been doing, and I hope you will continue that all the way through the summer, obviously, and I even hope into the shoulder season. But I thank you again. Other issues that still are open for me that were not spoken about today, I don't remember if it was last week or the week before, but I will tell you from my own personal I see no new signs on the crossovers to the beaches. Now, I don't go over every crossover, and some obviously say something about, masks, but my observation is that less than 20% of the people walking on past from, Deauville Beach parking lot to their seats wear masks or have one that's even visible. And I can't blame them because I said this before, there are no signs that indicate that. In fact, there are fewer signs than ever before. When we took away signs about masks on the beach, no other sign has been put back because masks are required when walking on this pathway to the beach or some other version of that. Even North Shores and Henlopen Acres have those. Their paths are as narrow as ours. And I think that's a mistake for us. And I heard the city manager, and I'd like to hear from her at some point today or later in writing why we don't have signs, because I thought that was supposed to be part of what was being made in our own shops for the crossovers, if nothing else. Last thing is, it happened tonight, but this afternoon, but I'm not sure it happened before, because Paul could tell me if the governor's presentation is the same time every day or week. Today, this meeting was right on top of the end of the governors. We were watching the governors, and I think Paul was listening to it at the same time before we came on because his head seemed to be staring off to the left. But in fact, he sticks in the same time slot. It would be better that his live stream does not overlap with our live stream. And I don't know if that was a one-off or what, but it would be very, very convenient for us if you would adjust that if we can. And I'll turn this over to Sturgis Dodge right now.
Yes, hello, thank you. Again, I just want to thank you all for your service in this difficult time. There were just two things. One of the, I was distressed to hear Chief Banks again recount episodes of opposition to mask wearing in public on the boardwalk and other areas. And I'm not surprised that that's happening because there's, we're not getting consistent messaging from leadership in the country about that. And there are a lot of corona contrarians out there. But one of the things I think that's important for us is to present as consistent a message as possible regarding this. And one of the things that Tom and I have noticed is that the beach patrol do not always wear masks when they're in close contact with one another, when they're riding around in the little buggies. Or they're exercising together on the beach. I'm not real sure, but it's kind of a modeling thing. I don't know if there's, any kind of culture of contrariness in that department or not, but I'm just not sure. I think we may be giving people a mixed message about the city's commitment to them. wearing masks on the beach when they can't social distance. So that is something that we're seeing. The other thing is about Main Street, and I'm really happy that they're still, working and trying to do things in this difficult times. But one of my questions about Main Street, or my interest in Main Street, is that one of your program is giving consultation to businesses in order to help them thrive or to attract new businesses. And even before coronavirus in our town, businesses were struggling and looking, I think, to Main Street to give them some. And I know, having gone online, that right now Main Street has seminars available for people who are members, businesses that are members. And I'm just feeling like, I think this is maybe the more difficult kind of part of the whole program. But my feeling is it's the part of the program that could be the most beneficial to our town or any town, is to really help businesses look at what's working, what's not working, and especially in this time, how to evolve with kind of this new normal in order to thrive. And so I just would really encourage us as a city to support and look to Main Street to provide, support and provide those kind of consultative services to our businesses, and be involved in that however we can. Anyway, thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioners, if there's nothing else, we'll reconvene a meeting next Tuesday, the 28th at 3 p.m. Before we adjourn, is there anything else? Any commissioners' comments?
Mayor, to address Mr. Evans' concern about the signs, I believe I heard Chief Banks say that new signs were being picked up this afternoon, and the Department of Public Works would be installing those signs this evening. Is that correct? Did I hear correctly?
You did hear correctly, Commissioner, and Mr. Evans, I'm not certain if you heard that earlier, but after last Tuesday's meeting, it was determined that we were not able to manufacture these signs from our own shop, so we needed to order the signs and have them made up. They expedited our order for 40 signs. They were ready today at 3 p.m. They were picked up. They are now here, and it's just a matter of not we won't be able to get them up tonight, but we will start that as soon as possible, hopefully tomorrow. So the signs say mask required when entering and exiting the beach, and we have 40 of those being erected ASAP.
Okay, I thought Mr. Evans may have missed that, so I just wanted to make sure that it was addressed again.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner.
And I guess I actually thought some were already up, and these were all of them are going now, right?
Thank you. Anybody else? Well, if not, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody, for participating.